Hi, Keith Carmonic here for Scattered Comics, and this is episode 2 of a little deeper look into the characters of Dr. Dream. Today, I want to talk about Megan, who is Dr. Dream's faithful assistant. First of all, I took Megan's name from my hairdresser of many, decades, I guess. Not many decades, but a couple of decades anyway. I just, kind of like the name and that sort of thing, and I thought it fit. Megan comes to be employed by Dr. Dream after, this is a little kind of a behind-the-scenes thing. It doesn't really show up in the comics or anything like that, but she comes to be employed by Dr. Dream after, issue 1. He realizes that, oh, okay, wow, I'm kind of well known now and I'm getting a lot of business. I need somebody to kind of run the front office. It's one thing to go from just a few people who think you might be able to help them to now, a lot of people around the area now who feel that they could utilize your services, right? So the practice is expanding and he needs a little bit of help. And it's just right for Megan because she really begins her career after college as a criminal justice major, working for the police department on drugs and organized crime and things like that. So she is does undercover work for the police, and she does this for many years. She keeps active. I always imagined her as being, kind of a kickboxing aficionado, well trained in hand-to-hand combat, these kinds of things, this kind of a skill set, right? What somebody would need if they're going to be investigating the sort of dark underworld activities of organized crime, drug dealers, and things like that. So that's her background, and that's where she comes from. And she's looking for a little bit of a break. And so we find out in issue 2 about this backstory. And, for her, it's kind of a breath of fresh air in a sense that, you're going from, lurking around at night and under cover of darkness and trying to weed out the bad guys to kind of, helping out the front end of a desk. But at the same time, the reader's looking at this like, wait a minute, you went from this really desirable skill set to now being basically a secretary. That seems a little weird. And in hindsight, yeah, I probably could have hinted at that part of her story a bit more. But we do get the backstory in the second issue. But the reasoning behind it, she kind of just, brushes it off because I kind of wanted to get into the main story that not only has Dr. Dream now become more popular, there's always going to be some nefarious people out there who, want to take you out, as is the case in issue 2. And that's where, Megan, who was really getting used to this idea of, just going to work, having just a regular sort of life and that kind of thing. And she is pulled into action, shall we say. And we find out about her previous life, even her handle, her code name, right, gets, sort of exposed. Agent Midnight. Again, she has to employ that skill set that she has in order to help find Dr. Dream. So she is very loyal, believes in him and that kind of thing all the way through the series, even when we get to our conclusion in issue 5, where Dr. Dream has, closed up his practice for some time. He's having, lots of, sorts of fits and some other issues going on and stuff, but Megan stays by his side nonetheless. She helps to get him settled into his hospice care as he goes in and out of consciousness, and as Nightmare becomes stronger and that kind of thing. She stays with them. She's the one who calls Alice to bring her on board. And she does this not because she thinks that Alice is necessarily going to help, but that, this would be a good time for you to say goodbye kind of thing, right? That's the initial idea behind this. She feels, Megan can, as much trouble as she's seen with organized crime and things like that, doesn't feel that she has the power in any way to, save Dr. Dream. And again, this is why she calls Alice to say, hey, he's not in a good place now, right? This might be time for you to say your goodbyes and stuff. And of course, calling Alice was the smart thing to do, not just for sympathy purposes, right, or final goodbyes, but maybe for Alice's sake, she feels that she has a chance to save Dr. Dream. It's by no mistake that in the end, Megan does break down a bit. And, again, she's dedicated herself to Dr. Dream, and hopefully everybody has someone like that in their lives where, that you grow close to, that, it's work, but it's also friendship. And, I've been fortunate enough to have that in my life. As a teacher for 26 years, I've made a lot of professional relationships and some friendships, coupled with that. And that's been really good. And I hope everybody gets a chance to experience that. So in many ways, Megan sort of represents that kind of relationship. And I hope readers have someone like that in their lives as well. One of the interesting things that never quite materialized for Megan is, I thought because of her Agent Midnight persona, that fans would take to her more and would like to know that kind of side of her. And maybe I needed some more books to do that. But, she never quite fit more into that storyline. I could have made it a series of her probably just by herself because of that skill set. It would have been, she would have ended up being more like a sort of Black Widow character, very highly skilled, utilizing, her entire skill set as a fighter, as, undercover agent, as a young woman, and all of that powerful aspects that come with all of that together. And you know what? And I think back on it now is the tears are not just of friendship and devotion that she has for Dr. Dream, but also perhaps the fact that given even that large skill set that she has, that she does not have anything in her toolkit to really save Dr. Dream. And so she was there sort of seeing him sort of succumb to, losing his power, losing in and out of consciousness, and there was very little she could do about it other than to take care of his affairs in this life, in the material world and things like that, the practice and what have you. So there's a little bit of that behind those tears as well. But Alice does reassure her, that he is in a better place. And again, she doesn't really know about that world, but certainly Alice does and stuff. And they have that really nice moment at the end. And I'm glad they were together for that. Anyway, that was the idea behind Megan. And we will be continuing on with the next installment, which will be about Nightmare. I hope you enjoyed this series, and for all things Scattered Comics, go to www.scatteredcomics.com. If you're interested in my work, in the various projects that I'm working on, not just on Dr. Dream, but on some of the other things that I do, feel free to check out www.keithcarmona.com.